Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to day two. Let me also greet everyone online. Thanks for joining us. Yesterday we had, I would say a fantastic day on day one of the annual Leading with the Soul Summit or Leading with a Soul Summit. Yesterday, day one was really focused on traditional leaders. It was the Traditional Leadership with the Soul colloquium, and we had guests from South Africa in terms of tribal authorities. We also did have some international guests which had dialed in virtually. So we're very privileged to have that, very rich conversations, very rich discussions. So today is day two, and it's the Leadership with the Soul Baraza Mastermind. Maybe let me just read to you what a Baraza is in case there's people that don't understand or don't know what Baraza is. So Baraza is a Swahili word which loosely translated, it means a large community gathering wherein this platform is used to discuss important issues facing the community. So in South Africa, we'd probably call it imbizo. So it's used to discuss issues facing the community, to share information, to hold leaders accountable, and to provide citizens with the opportunity to identify and to propose solutions to these issues. So, while we've chosen the Swahili word, but there are other words that are used. So similar mass mobilization gatherings, they do also happen globally. In a variety of different forums where Baraza forums, like they've got various names. In England, you'll call them Town Hall, Indignidos in Madrid, Dinuat in much of the Arab world. So, the concept really is not just a South African concept, but it's a global concept, of course, with different words. So it's against that spirit of mass mobilization. For us, it's important as the Leadership of the Soul Institute to use such platforms to be able to do mass mobilization of people and communities and leaders across, or leaders with a soul, to enable us to solve socio-economic issues that are prevalent within South Africa and also at a continental level. So today is a generational dialogue to reawaken conversations that traditionally have taken place from generation to generation, and thereby passing on ancient wisdom that have kept our cultures and humanities alive. So the audience today
generational stories and the leadership that we, especially as women, must take our role in terms of not keeping our stories to ourselves, but sharing them with people around us, and doing that quite often. Today we're supposed to be in a rendezvous as the women. And I just had to bring two incidences where I've had a rendezvous experience. And one of the things that we were talking about on that day, especially as women, was the fact that in that week of that rendezvous experience, there was a community meeting, and they were wanting to elect leaders from this meeting. And the meeting went on even till late in the evening because they couldn't find the right leader to be appointed for that time. And this was such a topic within this rendezvous area to say we are having such a big vacuum for people who can take us further, not just as men, but as women as well. Last week, we celebrated the International Rural Day for Women, and I so happened to be in Ekunu, and we had another rendezvous experience there, both with men and women. We had men sitting this side, and we had women sitting on the other side. And it was very clear with everyone that was speaking, the horrors that we are having and experiencing in this current dispensation within the South African landscape. One of the women who even led other women to tears was saying, you know what, there are so many people that we've paid the school fees for, they've gone to school, they've gotten their degrees, but there's no work, they're sitting at home. And now with them sitting at home, the vacuum of fighting, because now everyone who's here in this home, no one is happy. No one is fulfilling their dreams. So there's more infighting within the family unit as a home. And this was someone that is saying these are things that we need to address in our families. So when it comes to this Rondavelle issue, yes, we want to talk about intergenerational stories when it comes to women, and we've got a number of panelists who will be joining me today and who are online. We've got Ms. Rashika Padarath, who will be talking about women leading in post-democratic South Africa, and including positive femininity. We'll also be reading a letter from Chief Nosintu Gwebindlela, who's also writing about that same topic. And then we've got Ulebogang Mbane, who will be telling us more about the role of women in the struggle. And this, we're hoping we can tie it all in nicely in terms of having what is the history and the role of women in the home, community, and work, and the perspective from a modern woman as well. I'm going to be introducing Ms. Rashika shortly. Her short bio that she sent through to us before she starts. Ms. Rashika is passionate about personal mastery and the sustainability and guided by education and career thus far. She's led and continue to lead in organizations and projects in that space, in the education space. She's moving forward. She'd like to consolidate and deepen her focus on the concept of researching, facilitating, and consulting, and on various platforms, scales, and contexts. She runs a company called Andira Urban Services. She started this company with just 2 employees in 2018, and she's up to now 7 employees. In 2014, I mean, and she's up now to 7 people in her team. Her education background, she's got a master's in business administration, she's got a master of science in environmental sciences, and she's got a bachelor of science in town and regional planning, honors on BSc TRP Ons from Wits University. She's approachable, sociable. We've already seen her earlier online. We will be seeing more of her now. And she likes being a present wife, mother, and daughter. She's never missed a day of school in the whole 12 years of her learning career. She's the youngest director at Gauteng Province Department, and she's got the ability to laugh always. I'm going to be handing over to Ms. Rashika Padarath, and she'll be telling us more about women leading in post-democratic South Africa, positive femininity. To you, Ms. Padarath. Thank you so much.
Good morning, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. That bio seems a lot more deliberate than what I actually am doing every day, but thank you very much for that. So as facilitators, I want to start off by saying, Mulweni, Sanibonani, good morning, namaste, and it is wonderful to be here, or at least online. My heart is very sore that I'm not there with you physically, but it is a testament to the concept of this positive femininity that I'm sitting in my house. I had a daughter do a diving competition yesterday and a son leave a chess tour. And as a mother, those are the priorities I've chosen to include in what I'm covering. So as facilitators, we are always told never ever start a presentation with an apology. So I apologize for my apology. But if you can hear, I'm a little bit nasal. I'm recovering from the flu. If I switch off the video quickly to just blow my nose or sneeze or something, just bear with me. In our conversations with Andile, as we were thinking through what our sort of day would be like for today and the kind of conversations that we wanted to have on this day, we spoke about many things. And one of the things that he then asked me to speak about is what is it like actually being in South Africa at this point in time, doing what women are doing right now. So I do want to put this disclaimer out there when it comes to the jargon of feminine positivity and masculine, all of that kind of stuff seems a little bit far removed from where I wanted to, or what I want to speak about. What I was comfortable to share today was literally just my lived experience, and my lived experience of trying to navigate this kind of world that we live in right now, given the fact that we come from where we come from, we are who we are right now, and all of us sitting in this forum, whether online or physically, want to be able to do the best for our children, for the next generation. And so with that in mind, at the time that I have, I literally do want to share just sort of 2 points with you. But to do that, I want to start off with just a little bit of my story. So my name is Rashika Badarit. We are married for 13. I want to say that we strive to be happily married. We are married on a daily basis in practice. That means that we navigate all of what the world has to offer us in terms of what our marriage is about and trying to resonate. In the 23 years that we have been together, we have had to encounter many isms, as you might expect. From racism to feminism to kind of patriarchy, to a whole lot of issues and concepts that the two of us have had to navigate in terms of how do we see ourselves in our individual identities, how do we see ourselves as a couple, how do we see ourselves with this family that we want to raise, and how do we still stay true to who we are, where we come from, and what we are about. Both of us, at the very outset of our relationship, were very clear that the reason that we are together and that we can resonate and see each other for who we are is because of the values that we were raised with. We might have been raised in different homesteads. We might have been raised through different kind of cultures and religions, but the things that brought us together are the things that really, really stood firm for us from a values perspective. And those were the basic things. Well, be kind to your neighbor. Make sure that you always are seeking out for others. Trust in who your family is. Put family first. Those few things were very, very common to us as individuals and resonated in who we wanted to be when we started our family out. We are lucky enough to have 2 children. We have Ishan, who is 11 years old, and Ishvara, who is 9 years old. When we were thinking about being a couple and when we were thinking about getting married, we had lots and lots of discussions about what this might mean or how it might unfold. And I have to be honest to you, I was the one who said, let's just run away and let's, just go sign and have a party. It was Andelia who said, a marriage is a union that brings families together. We are going to do everything. So we had an Indian wedding, we had a Catholic wedding, and we had a traditional Zulu wedding, because the wedding was a celebration of bringing together all of our families in all of what we stood for. And that was allowed, and it was very clear. The wedding is for our mothers. Our mothers are both strong characters. They've had a big role to play in our lives, and we offer this to them. The marriage is ours. That wedding was a celebration of a coming together of an entire community of people that resonated and transcended. What that means from a positive femininity perspective is that it was never just about a particular sort of gender or a particular culture. It was always seen as every single person that has anything to do with us has a role to play. This is how both of us were raised, and this is how we continue to raise our children. Now, it was a lot easier said in theory than in practice. We were quite clear that the first thing we want to do is resonate and make sure the values that he was raised with from his grandmother and the values that I was raised with from my mother will be central to what we do with our children. In theory, that seems well. But when you are sitting on a daily basis trying to get your children off the internet, trying to have conversations with them about what Israel versus Palestine means, we were literally called into the school last week about a conversation that our daughter was having with someone else about war. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult. And again, what we've done is we go right back to our values to help us from that perspective. So the second point I want to make is that in us trying to live this modern life that we live in post-democratic South Africa as leaders in our own businesses, we take comfort in the fact that we come from where certain places, and where we come from helps us to navigate where we need to be. That's the first point that I really, really, really do want to stress. The second point that I want to stress is that because we have that resonant values, because that strength comes from a place that did not exist with all the isms that we encounter in sort of Western literature and the Western life that we live. Concept of feminism did not exist in Hinduism. Women are seen as equal as men. Concept of African feminism does not see one different to the other. There's a concept of equality and a concept that each of us play a role in the home, in the homestead, in our family, and in our community. And that has become a core part of what we navigate through. But having said that, the next point that I want to make is that as we sit here today, we are faced in 2023 in a world that we want to give our children the best foot forward so that they can be country-wise, continent-wise, and global-wise competitive in the world. And what does that mean? It means that we stand fast in the values that we are, but we still negotiate and we have the conversations about what does it mean on a practical basis. So as a very quick example in the time that I have left, one of the things that we've had to decide is between Ndile and I, we share our responsibilities 50-50, 1 week, 1 week. That allows me to set up meetings, do engagements like this, other kind of things in the week that I know he's taking care of the children, making sure that homework is done, and doing the cooking. And the following week, it's my turn to do exactly the same. It might not work for all households. It does resonate, it does work for us because of what we need to do. But having said that, there are many, many other challenges that we have not been able to address, that we don't have clarity on. And that's what excites me about what we are doing here, for us to begin to open the platform and say, in where we are, what we are challenged with, how do we best move forward and do the best that we can for ourselves and our children so that they have a fighting chance on the globe and on the continent. I think I'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rashika, for that. Oh, what a nice point that you came in terms of the values that you and your husband have both instilled within your family, and to bring in the flavor of what your mother likes and your husband's mother likes as well. I love how you've even said that you intensely made it an option to talk about how you want to envision your marriage to be like. I think a lot of the time, and it was one of the points that came across even yesterday, to say with even the democratic society of South Africa, there were lots of conversations that were taking place. But the traditional leaders were not even called in part of those conversations or to be included in how the democratic state of South Africa should be run. So I love that has come across so well, how you made a decision to come together and to make sure that you navigate your marriage in the way that you want it between yourself and your husband. Another point that I'm taking home is where we come from helps us to navigate where we want to be. So even if you're a person that is a Xhosa person, who is a Sotho person, where you're coming from in terms of your traditions is so, so important. Where do you want to be now with that you've got in terms of your background? And it is important that now this intergenerational gap, you've made it to be a key point for your kids, not just to be competitive locally, but continentally and globally as well. It is important that each and every one of us take this point from Orashika as well to say, what is it that I want to see for the next generation? It's not just about us. There's more people coming and behind us. And I'm so proud of your two kids, the 11-year-old and 9-year-old, that you're giving them such values to grow further. Thank you so much for your topic on that, Rashika. Now we're going to move on to Lebogang. Lebogang will be talking more on the role of women in the struggle that we've had. Lebogang, let me just go through her brief bio as well. She's a principal director, she's a global speaker, she's a facilitator, she's got her own personal interest with theater and hiking, she's an avid traveler, she's visited over 19 African countries, she speaks English, Siswati, and Zulu. She stays in Sandton, but her expertise comes from being a leader, a change management, from Africa and leadership. That's what her expertise come from. And then I'm gonna go into her experience and education. She's got a Master's of International Business from Monash University in Australia. She's got a Bachelor of Business and Commerce, Marketing and Management from the Monash University. She's got African Thought Leadership, Africa International Trade, Africa Gender Studies from the Thabo Mbeki African Leadership Institute through the University of South Africa. She's completed her Masters of International Business with distinction with an average of 87 to 89% from Melbourne. Welcome, Ms. Lebogang Mbana, and we welcome you with our next topic from this morning.
Thank you very much. I just want to check if everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me come through to give a perspective on the role of women in the struggle. It's an honor to be actually virtually speaking to all of you in the room. I am currently in Joburg, and I'm actually very fond of Umtata because my lobola came from Umtata, so you guys have a very fond space in my heart, and Nyabulela. Okay, so I'm going to, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to share a presentation, and the presentation is going to focus on really around as women understanding our heritage. Then I'm going to focus a little bit on the men, and then I'm going to take it back to what we can do as people in our modern day. And I'm going to use my crazy self as an example of some of this. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen. And if someone can tell me when they can see my screen, I'd appreciate that.
We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so I think I've already outlined that. So the sort of structure of the presentation. I wanted to start with, as African women, just understanding our lineage from an African perspective, and just understanding this. I've got a passion for the continent, and I like to learn lessons from each country that I visit. And when I look at Ghana, there was a war that was happening in Ghana, right? Because we're talking about the role of women in the struggle. And the men were sort of afraid to go and face this war. And there was this amazing queen who was not afraid to physically face battle and went forth and live and fought for her country. And we as modern women can fight all the battles that we face, knowing that we have the strength as women. The other picture on the side, Queen Nzinga of Angola is another story that I like to share when I talk about women and African women and where we come from. And, you know, Queen Nzinga of Angola is one of those queens that was very much discriminated upon by, you know, the colonial past. And in this discrimination of the colonial past, she actually traveled to Portugal, and they wouldn't give Queen Nzinga a chair. And here in this picture, as you can see, you see this mighty queen. One of her soldiers that she had traveled with literally bent down, and Queen Nzenga sat on his back and addressed these colonial masters. And for me, this is a very profound story that we can also glean from and learn from as African women, because you know, you can go to certain places and get defined in certain ways, but you know, one should never forget who they are. You know, Queen Nzinga didn't get there and say, okay, they're not going to give me a chair, so I'm not going to sit down. She still remembered that she's royalty. She still knew her place in society, and that's that notion of the soldier kneeling down. It's because as a woman, there are people that will support you. There are people that will support you in your career, in your home, in whatever it is that challenges that you face. And we can glean so many lessons about this the soldier that went down, and Queen Nzenga sat on him, because really, as women, it's a support system that that you need to carve out for yourself to be successful. So these queens, for me, as an African woman, I think it's very important to understand sort of the lineage that you come from, and that no matter where you go, even if people don't recognize you, don't forget, you know, who you are. And these two struggles of this woman in the colonial past can really resonate with us as modern African women. Now, I mean, I have to bring it home, right? So, you know, we know about Mama Winnie Mandela and and how she contributed at the struggle, and how when, you know, President Mandela was in prison, and how she kept the struggle going, you know, and how she kept the Mandela face in front of everyone's face, you know. But I always talk about the fact that yes, there were women that were in the forefront, the cold front, like Umama Winnie Mandela, of the struggle of our own country as South Africa. But there were those women also that were, you know, when the men were in the prisons, when the men were working in the mine, there were these women that would be at home, you know, that were raising the children and the children of today, and raising these leaders. And there were these women that would you know, hide people in their homes. You know, there's woman that did so much during the struggle that was also not, you know, documented, and that wasn't you know, publicized as such. But the role also of this woman that would sit at home and ensure that we have future South Africans, you know, sending kids to school. Those same women that stayed with Mama Winnie's kids when she was, you know, being, you know, incarcerated. So you can see this network of women working together. And that's why when I talked about the women's struggle of 1956, I loved this picture of this woman carrying this child on her back as well, because that's who we are as women, right? We have these. I always say I have many personas. You know, I go on these global stages. I sit on these boards. I sit on a couple of boards. I'm a principal director right now at the management consulting firm that I'm at, an American firm. But when I come home and like, you know, like I wear my pinify, you know, and then I go, and there I am, you know, peeling and cooking, and you know, and just being part of this community. And I love this picture because it shows really this role that African women continue to play, where, you know, she sees this injustice, but she's got this child on her back, and she's like, I'm fighting for my child, and I go out. And I think as modern African women, it's good for us to reflect on these on the struggles of these women, and what they, you know, what they contributed towards liberating us, and realize that we can learn so much, and it's okay to have these multiple roles as a woman, and you can make it, you know. Now, I want to talk about the men that support us, the support system that I talk about. And I'm just going to use, you know, Thomas Sankara, and how he said, and I love this quote where he says, the revolution and women's liberation go together. We do not talk of women's emancipation as an act of charity or out of a surge of human compassion. It is the basic necessity for the revolution to triumph. Women hold up the other half of the sky. And the reason why I love this quote is because he is so right that, I mean, right now, when we look at our own country, about 51% of South Africa is female. So the majority of the citizens of this very country is women. So how do we build a country? How do we build a continent where really women are not involved? And I think as men, it's really important that you find ways that you can advocate and support meet 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 and support
Great pleasure for me as the Eastern Cape Controlessa Women's Wing Provincial Chairperson to be invited to this inaugural Traditional Leading with the Soul Summit as a voice that represents women in traditional leadership. Firstly, we would like to apologize for not being able to attend in person and virtually due to the prior commitments that we are committed to on these days, and we hope the summit will be a success. We have chosen the topic Women Leading in Post-Democratic South Africa, Positive Femininity, as it resonates very well with us as women in traditional leadership. So our message will be aligned to experiences of women in this institution. Historically and still to date, this institution is well known or still perceived as an institution that is dominated with patriarchy. However, with big strides have been made in this institution to work on getting women in the forefront of leadership by striving to address gender equality and creation and promotion of platforms to aspire think that men are still better leaders than female leaders, even still with our own male counterparts, despite the bigger strides that have been made or being taken as well. We still experience societal barriers, which are often unspoken, cultural cues, and messages that reinforce the ways that men and women should think, behave, and lead. We have been marginalized for a very long time, and every woman in the leadership position has experienced some form of abuse, discrimination, and prejudice in her own working space. Despite all these challenges, it is still imperative that women should be in leadership position as we are endowed with natural cooperative and nurturing skills, which are quite crucial in today's leadership skills. Feminist leaders are needed to make the status quo of gender balancing better and adopt a transformational style of leadership so as to transform our areas of leadership to be better places. How do we lead? By positive femininity. As a female leader, these are the checkpoints that we must always embrace. Prioritize self-reflection and self-care without any guilt. Increase self-belief and self-confidence. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and share your pain points. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Accept I don't know as the answer, but never accept I can't. Embrace chaos. Not everything works in a structured format or formal processes. Increase impact as a leader, at home, at work, and in the community. Constantly build knowledge and change and sharing of information. Build circles, 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 and more circles. In conclusion, as a female leader, let us not confine ourselves to one leadership style. Nkosikazi Nosintu Gwebindlela. She's the chairperson of the Eastern Cape Controlessa Women's Wing. She's the fellow member of the Global Leadership Academy. She's the director and founder of Nosintu Gwebindlela Foundation and the chairperson of the Bulungula Incubator Board and the non-executive member of the Bulungula College Board as well. I think with all of the women that we've heard here today, we've heard the intertwining line of saying, we have to pass on the message to the next generation. What are we carving? What are we telling the next generation? What are we using from our past that we have? Because we've got great richness in terms of values. We've heard Urashika speaking about them earlier on. What is it that you want to pass on to the next generation? What are you carving as a person? One of the things I always say is, always be the best you that you can be in any circumstance that you want to be. But you have to identify, sit down with yourself, find out what is it about me that makes me me even in this generation that I'm in? What is it that I'm passing on as a baton to the next people? We've started these intergenerational conversations here today at the Leading with the Soul Summit. This is the first one. We need to pass on more information. We cannot keep this information to ourselves. We have to continue passing on the baton to even more people in terms of the things that we already know. We have to take our role more seriously as women. I think sometimes we get to be so multifaceted in so many things that we forget to focus in one area and pass and do that well. And I think guys do that so well. You know, that's one thing that they have. They have that focus of sticking to one thing and making sure that they flourish. Now, as I finish and I conclude, my last word is, what is it that you're leaving behind? Each step that you are taking, each stride that you are taking, day by day. I loved how Rashika was saying that this week she takes care of the kids, the following week the husband takes care of the kids. What are you doing? What is your plan? What is your game plan, even after leaving from this summit, from this weekend? What are you doing daily to carve that life that you want to create for yourself, something that your great-great-parents will be proud of as well, and the kids that you will be having in terms of the future? I really want to thank Andile for this platform and this time. It is nice and short, so thank you so much. We've finished from our side. Yeah.
Ladies, don't run away. Ladies on the platform, don't run away. Nozi, you're not finished. Your role is not finished. So I think, you know, the point of the conversation today, or the point of today, is really to have deep conversations, deep, meaningful conversations, points of reflection, you know, and self-reflection. So maybe just to maybe pass greetings to Ulebu. Madam, how are you, my queen? Are you well? Lebu,
I'm well, thank you. I'm well, thank you.
Fantastic, lovely to see you. So, you know, I'm just going to want to engage with both yourself and Rash, and also the audience. Maybe just to ask a question. So, your experience, specifically in the boardroom setup, right? You mentioned that you sit on a number of boards. You also mentioned, or you spoke about, you know, your role as a healer and those kind of things. I want to go to the point of authenticity. Is how have you, because you are someone that I respect a lot, otherwise you wouldn't be on this platform, of course. You know, but you know, someone that I respect a lot, because you like Rashika, you sit at the highest levels in terms of boardrooms. You command the respect in those boardrooms. But I've found that you are not aggressive, and there's a difference between aggressiveness and assertiveness. And for me, this is probably the first opportunity I can actually ask, how do you show up authentically, right? In terms of all these facets of being a healer, being confident in who you are, as in your femininity, embracing your femininity, but still be able to get the desired results at the highest levels. And please take us into your confidence, because I think that this is what I've seen, certainly, is this is what a lot of people are missing. And they would love to interact with someone like yourself, who I think has done a very good job. Of course, we are always work in progress, but has done a very good job, you know, in terms of where you are right now, to be able to deservedly have that seat at the table, but show up authentically.
Before I answer, can I ask to see people in the room? I think we had a view and then it went away. It's nice to have that connection. Now we're interacting with a dark screen. But I mean, thank you for everything that you've said. And the reason why I laughed when you said I'm not aggressive, right? Is because 2 weeks ago, I actually was speaking to one of the EA support ladies at our company, and she said the exact same thing. She said, you're a principal director, but you're very, very humble, and you're very soft. She literally said to me, you're very soft. So I don't know, are you the same in the boardroom? And I said to her, what I always say is that I start off I'm anchored in my spirituality. So I believe in African spirituality. I believe in God, and I believe in my ancestors. And for me, that is the core of who I am. And when I look at the principles that I learned from my African spirituality, my first principle is that of love. It is that of understanding the concept that as Africans, we've always been loving beings, and we've always been people that are extremely humble as Africans. So for me, my superpower, I think, is humility. And the greatest leaders that I've met have always been these humble people. And I always say, the day that God calls me to go join my ancestors, at my funeral, people must talk about my humility before anything else. So I think what you see is a product of someone that is very intentional about humility, and is very intentional that people feel this humility and feel the sense of being welcome around them. A couple of weeks back, I had one of my husband's family members visit me for the first time, and he said the statement that I thought to myself, I'm intentional about this, and I'm seeing it happen. And he said we're sitting in a suburb house, but it feels like we're in a location because there's so much warmth. And for me, I think that is what helps me in the boardroom or whatever spaces I'm in. It's this intentionality to be humble, and that is rooted in my African spirituality.
And we'll come back to that journey, because I think it's the leadership of the Soul Institute is very clear around being vested or being centered, around acceptance of our Africanity, if there's such a word, right? And I'm saying that we'll come back to the African spirituality side, however way that you define that. Rash, just to maybe bring you in. So in your profile, there was the mention of your passion, Rashika, for personal development and stuff, right? So now let me preface it with saying this, that the mantra within the leadership of the Soul Institute, it says that for you to be able to lead society, you need to be able to lead your family. For you to be able to lead your family, you need to be able to lead yourself. So we're very clear around self, family, in that order, and others. Now, Rash, in terms of your experience, I mean, there was talk of vulnerability, about care, about reflection, and all of those things in the previous speech that was being read, in terms of the kind of leadership that we need. Talk to us about, I guess, in depth about, firstly, the importance of personal mastery. I know it's a term that's used very loosely. Maybe what does that mean? What does that look like, so that at least we all have the common understanding? And also, how do we transcend? I'm almost looking for us within the Institute is, how do we transcend what we know? Because we've got people of all levels, right? You've got people at the grassroots level who believe that they don't necessarily have the capability to be able to get out of the environment that they're in. But I'm saying my argument is that is investing in self. It starts there, because then investing in self does X, Y, or Z, right? But just walk us through from the basic level, right? And how we should actually be thinking about this topic, which you are a subject matter expert in, of personal mastery, and what you believe, in all likelihood, the output might be if we take that.
Thank you, Andile. And thank you very much to my fellow panelists. It's wonderful to be on screen with you, and to everybody in the room as well. So I often use this analogy when we talk about personal mastery, and then I do say it's a core part of all of us in terms of the beings that we are, is that you really cannot try and be your complete self without even understanding yourself. And to understand yourself means to actually look at yourself realistically, honestly, in ways that you don't sometimes want to see yourself. You need to see the good, you need to see the bad, you need to see the ugly, you need to see the other. You need to first become aware, you need to be able to acknowledge, and then you must be able to say, if this is what I am, what can I do about this? What can I do to build on these strengths that I actually have? What do I need to do to address the weaknesses that I actually have? And one of the things that I often say in a classroom environment is I say personal mastery always works in progress. We recognize that sometimes we'll move forward and sometimes we'll move back, but that because we are works in progress, we can consciously work on ourselves. What that means in Mzansi, what it actually means for the continent, is that if we begin to be a lot more conscious in our reflectiveness and a lot more conscious in who we are, then we are not going to be completely dependent on everybody else to make things work for us. We're literally going to say, it is up to me. I have to be at the dinner table in the evening. I have to make sure that I'm checking on the children. I have to make sure that I get up in the morning to have that run. I have to be confident enough to do for ourselves. All of us, I think a lot of us go through spaces, myself included, where you actually don't feel confident to do for yourself. And the personal reflection gives you that confidence to see you for who you are so that you can do for yourself. When you can do for yourself, then you can do a lot more for others.
Perfect. You know, so there's a saying that I have, and
See into your soul. I see you. It's like we have that respect and that naturalness of being able to see people for who they are and be with people for who they are. We never called it personal mastery. We never called it all of those fancy words. We had a sense of being able to be human and humanity first. And at that point in time, we had also just finished varsity and we were building our careers and we were building our professions. And by the time we were going to get married, I was known as an urban planner as Rashika Badarat, and he was known as Andres Kosana as well. And people knew of us. It was actually his idea that if you want to keep your name, it's not a problem. His only condition was the children are Skosanas, they are mine. And I had no problem with that.
Like a
because
true
the
Zulu
children
man,
are
eh? Like a true
What?
Zulu man. I own that
like a
surname.
true Zulu man, like a true Zulu man. And and the children asked Kusan. I mean, he really didn't mind. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about him is that we have all of this richness of culture and tradition that we come from. And then there's the practicality. And then there's the ability to see yourself in the world as it is now and to forge forward. And it's not always about where and what, you got to think this thing through. So the keeping my surname was that the condition was as long as the children are Skosanas, I obviously would not have a problem with that. And even in our naming of our children, Ishan Muholi Skosana, Ishvara Sesese Skosana. There's in part of the Indian heritage, the Zulu heritage, and the naming from that perspective. I know that you spoke about how do I still sort of retain myself in all of what's going on. And you really going back to basics. One of the things that I do is I practice a thing called big. Before I even open my eyes in the morning, I do 3 or 4 breathing exercises where I just breathe deeply. I then set my intention for the day and I say what I'm grateful for. When I've done those 3 things, I then open my eyes and I face the day. And I say, Lord, I trust that whatever you throw at me today, you will not give me what I cannot handle. And it's with that I actually start and I focus on my day. It doesn't mean I have it figured out. It doesn't mean that I do the right thing. I do more wrong things than I do the right things. But it's in that fallibility of understanding the humanness that I still strive and want to be able to do well in the world, that I keep with that. What does it mean for our children is a very interesting question. One of the things that, because in theory, we had it all figured out. When it was just Angela and I, we had it all figured out. We knew exactly what we were going to do, how we were going to run this family. And then we have these children, and now they have opinions, and now they know stuff, and things are very, very different. And each day that goes by, we know less and less than we used to before. And so what we are sort of embracing with our children is that our job is to be able to create awareness and to give them the platforms that we can. That's all that we can do. I think any parent in the world, that's all that you can do. It's then up to the children to decide what they want. If one of our children decide that they want to convert to Judaism or marry someone that's Muslim or, become, I don't know, like Taoism or whatever it is, as Adila will be the same. As long as our children are practicing the values of goodness, of what transcends all religions, I think that we would be very, very comfortable with. And I think that's something that we have to be able to let them learn. The other lesson that we've learned really quickly as parents is I will never understand what it's like to be Ishan. I see the world through the lens of an Indian woman. Andile sees the lens through the world of a Zulu man. Ishan sees the lens through the world of a biracial, sort of mixed culture, mixed ethnic, mixed religion child. Only he knows what that means. And he understands the world and sees the world in that way. And the world sees him in a way that we cannot fathom. Our job as parents is to be able to give him enough as a foundation from a values perspective and to know that in our practice every day that he has the tools to be able to go forth and do what he needs to in the world. Exactly the same for Ishvara. And that's what we have to understand, our limitations and our ability as parents to be able to give them what we can from a certain perspective. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, you were speaking about big, right? So it's breathe, intention. What's the G?
Breathe, intention for the day, and gratitude.
Gratitude, okay.
B-I-G. Breath,
Okay.
intention for the day, and gratitude. And it takes no more than 2 or 3 minutes before you start your day.
Thank you very much for that. Madam Lebu?
Please tell me the lady that asked the question. What's her name? I want to
Siseko.
write it. Seko.
Siseko, S-I-S.
Siseko.
Yeah.
And her surname?
So the rest you'll know.
And then is surname okay? Okay, please ping me her name. Okay. And the reason why I want her number is because I'd love to reach out to her. How am I documenting my journey? It's to tell you the truth. I've wanted to write a book. I just haven't had the time to write a book. There's a gentleman that did a couple of video things about my life at some point. But I still feel that there's so much that I still need to document as well in terms of telling my own journey. There's a couple of things that are on YouTube under my maiden surname, Lebogang Chaka, which Rashika, I was going to keep it. I was going to do Chakambana, and we had agreed and we signed at Home Affairs. And then when we went to collect the marriage certificate, they had disregarded Chaka and Mbana. And then knowing me as a traditional healer, I was like, okay, fine, I give in Mbana. So there's that element of there is some sort of digital archive, but I still feel like there needs to be something more intentional and something more structured. I get this question a lot. It's time. It's really just finding the time to focus and say this is the correct medium and do it. I don't see it being a book, but I see it being more of a digital archive and continuing down that path. Has my role, my gift, and the boardroom. I believe that I'm at every place that I am for a certain reason. And I do believe that my gift has edified and has opened doors for me in corporate because if I look around, even in the company that I'm with, when I look around at people that are what we'd call principal directors, and the next step is managing director, I'm one of the youngest, right? And I get to sit in these spaces where I sit with gray-haired people, with elders, and I know that it is because I work with my ancestors that these particular doors have opened. And I understand that although I'm not gray-haired as they are, and I don't have the experiences that they have, whether it's 20, 30 years experience in their pocket, I believe that the wisdom that I bring to the table comes from my ancestors. And they're the ones that open those doors for me. So I do see my life becoming much grander. I believe that I needed to be in the boardroom for now because, like I said, it creates those spaces for even the younger generation to come to me and have those conversations and be able to find themselves and be able to practice who they are and connect with their own African spirituality. Because there's this notion that where people thought, at some point, some of my family members thought that I was going to give up everything and go live in a village and practice and do all of that. But there's so much more facets to who I am and what I do. So I believe that it's important to see us in the modern context and leaning on that spirituality for our success. I think, for example, there was a time that I was facing workplace bullying. And one of the things that I was being bullied about was the fact that I'm always wearing African prints and being told that that is not corporate enough, that I dress like an actor of sorts and I'm an executive in this particular firm. And this is really after my calling and after my journey and stuff like that. And one of the things that I would do is I'd wake up every day at 3:00 and I'd go to my msamo and I would pasha and I would be fine. and I came out unscathed, and I went on to an even bigger executive role. So I think it's important that I can be in those spaces, and when our younger, and not even our younger, because just the other week I got a call from a peer who's also a principal director and leading up a division. And it's important for, and my counsel to her was really around leaning in her spirituality to get through the challenges that she was facing, that I had also faced in that particular role. So I believe that part of my call is to be in the boardroom and remind people of the power in our own spirituality as well when we go through challenges.
Perfect. Is there any other question? There's a, please come through.
Can you hear me? Morning, ladies and gents. Morning to the panelists. My name is Luvo Kozana. Excuse me for not looking at you guys, but I love speaking from the heart. I'm from Tabankulu by origin. I want to ask the ladies, and I think I'm very fortunate to be part of the delegation today, because yesterday I was traveling from Mount Elif to here. I'm one of the artists for all those who are here yesterday that had works displayed around the center here. And I'm working towards an exhibition titled Modern Urban Woman, which then seeks to explore the role of, I first wanted to do an exhibition titled African Woman, but then the word modern, because I wanted to be current in the aspect that it's not inclusive for Black women only, but all races within the South African context. Because the abuse or the hardships that women face in today's society is beyond means. And it took some time for me to find this aspect. But ladies of the panel, I urge you to please assist me in this regard, because this is a topic that needs to be addressed in our society, number one. Number two, that needs to be addressed in a grander scale, because there are so many atrocities that happen against women. And I first looked at the role that Winnie played, Winnie Mandela, and how she was marginalized for the role that she played, because she was acting on a patriarchal era in our country, and no man wanted a woman to be a leader at that time. And then this took some journey within me, being the artist that I am. Now, ladies, since you work of the woman, number one. Number two, to showcase or to challenge the status quo, because so many things happen against women that we men don't take into account. And in part of shaping up society that we want, we need to first embrace ourselves as men in this current situation. Because we are brought up in a setup where patriarchy was the only thing. Otata would say, umfazi needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4. But then you grow up and you see the things that happen, and I want to be an instrument where